If you would love to create a transformational and successful coaching business, but you don't know where to start or how to make this a full-time career, then my new certification program, Influential Coach, is for you. There is no other 4-month live online mastermind like this. I'm going all in, guns blazing on this one with you to skyrocket your coaching career and personal brand online. You will learn the frameworks I personally use for rapid transformational coaching so you can support your clients to achieve their dreams no matter where they are in life. You will also learn how to authentically brand and market yourself as a coach so you can stand out from the rest and build a career of freedom and fulfillment. Spots are limited and this is an application-only program. So if you're serious about finally committing to building a successful career in transformational coaching, then head over to iamjoelbrown.com/coach and apply today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Addicted to Success podcast. I'm your host, Joel Brown, and I'm here today with a fellow kick-ass Aussie legend. I've followed his journey for a while now. He is the founder of 21st Century Education. He has coached, supported, led over 500,000 people so far in his career. He's an activist. He stands for truth. He stands for creating abundance in your life, but doing it the right way. He's a best-selling author of What I Didn't Learn at School But Wish I Had, which is a bestseller, and also the founder of Australian National Review. Jamie McIntyre is the man. Jamie, I love the content you've been putting out. I resonate with the way that you teach. You're so ahead of the curve, bro. And the way that you teach, even financial education, is just so ahead. The way that you built networks. I know you've rubbed shoulders with people like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've rocked stages with Tim Ferriss and Richard Branson. And you got into Bitcoin when everybody was trash talking it back in the day. And you've been able to build so much abundance, great structure, great financial security. And a lot of people really love and support you in that process too, man. I know it takes a lot of courage. So today, there's a very pressing thing that's in the sphere of this world. And we are in this interesting time where there's a lot more questions than there are answers. And there's a lot that's required from us to investigate and to reason to find truth. And there goes a saying, man, that the truth is often surrounded by a bodyguard of lies. And you're very good at digging through those to reveal what's truly there. And I love it, man. I love your courage. Bro, let's dive into this. Let's go into where you're at right now, where you're best supporting people. What are you feeling within yourself is a great way to really arc a conversation around this, because I want my audience to feel like they can create structure and more certainty in this time of questions and uncertainty.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Yeah, no, it's certainly a very interesting time in the world. I think it's very scary in some aspects, but then also, the other flip side of scary is exciting if we look for, what we can control and what we can change and things that we certainly maybe outside our control. I think 2020, they talk about the Great Awakening versus the Great Reset. And so the exciting thing has been a Great Awakening. All of us were really asleep. Some of us started waking up, sooner than others. But it's been a slow process with 2020 with the, I'm going to say COVID falsified pandemic or COVID fraud certainly awoken millions of people around the world to go, hang on, something even intuitively isn't right. Even if I don't believe in things that aren't, pushed down our throat on mainstream media, we just intuitively know things weren't right. And as the days and weeks and months go on now, it's very hard for people still to believe the official narrative that we're all going to die of COVID. It was pushed, a bit over a year ago. So I think what I say about that, the first step to creating change and is awareness. So the Great Awakening is about that awareness. So we've been the last 12 months supporting people, predominantly through my show, the McIntyre Report, the education process of awareness, providing them the facts, providing them what's going on, stuff they're not going to see on mainstream media, which is important, and that will be an ongoing thing. And myself being an educator for 20 years, that's something that I've been educating people about a range of things for years, but particularly now it is such a sense of urgency. The next step we have to move to is practical solutions, but still there's so many people that have to still go through the awareness stage. And to know of certain things, so many of the listeners might be aware and going, yeah, I know a lot about COVID, doesn't add up. I believe it's a falsified pandemic as well. The numbers don't stack up. The death rates are inflated. They're pushing so hard on a global medical experiment, which is just ludicrous on any grounds. It's not like, we're dealing with a man flu. Even our Australian Prime Minister has come out and said, we need to adjust our attitude. It's a bad flu. Well, the reality, if you look at the stats, it won't even come in as a bad flu, but they're about to commit, people committing, not, I wouldn't say committing suicide, but take a vaccine, which is already causing a serious health risk for people initially, but nothing to what's coming. So I think, yes, solutions are critical, but part of that, like anything, Joel, is it's a bit like what Tony Robbins always said: we don't want to make life out to be worse than it is, or we certainly don't want to make it out to be better than what it is. We need to accept reality of what it is, as uncomfortable as and as horrible as that is. And when people find out the real truth, how bad that is, but then let's at least be honest and real where the world is at, and then chart a path from there. And that's going to mean people dealing with a massive amount of uncertainty. Some of your viewers would be comfortable with that because they've educated themselves and developed their mindset and psychology where they've dealt with uncertainty in the past, but perhaps nothing to the level of what we're about to go through.
Yeah. This is something that some people don't want to speak up about because they're in fear of being judged, right? And look, no one likes to be wrong. In the case of, let's say, I personally put out material warning people about the vax, right? And I've had people come at me and they're like, hey, Joel, I don't think you got this right. Listen to this doctor. This doctor said this, and, this is normal for vax, and so on. And I've heard it. And to be honest, nothing swayed me enough. I'm a totally open dude. I've been open to so much in my career through coaching. And I just don't feel like I've learned anything new from anyone that holds enough weight to shift me to go, oh yeah, you're right, I'm going to go put this in my arm, right? But I look at it, and more than just like trying to prove people wrong, that's not my job. I don't want to try and prove people wrong. As a matter of fact, I'd like it to be the reality that somebody comes and says, ultimately, look, here's what's actually really going on. And if I'm swayed enough to go, oh, I was wrong, that's great for humanity. Because ultimately, for you and me, man, and many other people that are speaking up, what we truly want is we care about people. We're in a space where we care about people, right? Put self-righteousness, ego aside. It's really about like, hey, I care about humans. I've been caring about humans for a very long time through my own coaching practices. Now's the time more than ever that there are people that even if they've done a little bit of personal development or they do some spiritual stuff, they still have wounds and they still can be easily controlled through their identification with having to be this way or that way. They're too hard set. And I've created this practice of being as fluid as I can into whatever is truth. I don't care what truth is, man. I'll turn every stone until there's no stone unturned for truth. Yeah. That's how important it is. But there are people that are listening right now that are going, you know what? This isn't weighing up. Doesn't feel right in my spirit. I see some stuff here. There is a lot of noise too. Some people can mix some weird conspiracy stuff and it throws it out. But for the most part, the real juicy stuff, like how do we communicate this, man? How do we share it in a way where it's going to be effective rather than just, getting angry?
Yeah, I agree. And it is, and there's, of course, there's a lot of noise out there, but the reality is, I guess, if we care for people, our obligation is to at least warn them. So once we've done that and done our best to do that, well, then, we can say we did our best. The reality is a lot of people are not going to listen. A lot of people will never wake up to the reality because they're so indoctrinated. They think everything else is a conspiracy theory, but they tune into the conspiracy theory channels, 6 p.m. news, CNN, BBC, ABC, Channel 7, 9, 10 in Australia, the conspiracy channels. And they take in those daily conspiracies. They never question it. They never ask for evidence that, the PCR test kits actually work. They never ask for evidence how come we're counting healthy people as cases of such a deadly pandemic, but have you ever seen anyone die of it? They never ask questions about the blatant inflation of deaths. A real pandemic doesn't need to inflate deaths. They don't need to incentivize deaths. They would actually have real deaths. I mean, we take away, even the CDC, you can go and look at the website. It's only 6% of the 2.7 million people they're claiming have died of this COVID have actually died of COVID. And that still requires further investigation because there are no autopsies done. They're not doing autopsies. Why would they be doing autopsies? So there is nothing that adds up about COVID other than it's a massive fraud. And it's sorry that has to shock and offend some people, but some people will. Jim Jones, remember Jim Jones?
Oh, yeah.
Jim Jones, America, that created the cult. And and convinced people the world was ending and had them all drink poison and commit suicide together, 200 people. We're talking about a massive vaccine cult right now on this planet that is convincing 7.5 billion people to participate in a global medical experiment that, against something that's no more deadly than a flu, because it is a flu. Whether it's engineered in Wuhan lab or not, irrelevant, it's not that deadly. But what is deadly is the ignorance and the stupidity of humans to go, oh, we're just going to participate in a global medical experiment and take a vaccine that's not ineffective, unproven, unnecessary, not rushed to market to protect us against what? I mean, it's just absurd. If we were facing a real pandemic where your chances of dying if you caught something was 100% death, then you'd still go and research the vaccine and say, what's the risk of taking this? But I'm facing 100% certain death, and I've got facing a 3, 5, 10, 15% death rate if I take the vaccine. Then you'd weigh that risk reward up, true? But when you're facing something where, unless you're already dying, aged care home, and they've already vaxxed you with that many flu vaxxers for the last 2 years to help kill you, and you're already dying of cancer and terminal cancer, the chances of dying from COVID is virtually zero. Zero. Yep. The chances of dying from 1,000 other things is a greater risk. So it's massive irrational fear. Even what Elon Musk said. He said, I've lost faith in humanity because there's been such crazy irrational fear. But see, the point is, humans, we're very good at being in denial, because most of us live in denial our whole bloody life. Let's face it. We're not very good at wanting to know the truth because it's a comfort bubble. But in the past, you could get away with being ignorant or uneducated or not knowing the facts about, I'm not into politics. Well, yes, you are, because global politics affects your life. So today, in the world we live in today, there's no hiding spot. You will either be vaccinated or they'll come hunt you down and vaccinate you. That's the reality of the world we're facing. It's just not to scare people, but the average life expectancy if you take these vaccines is 3 years. Yeah. Most people suffer such serious side effects in 6 to 9 months. They couldn't make it too deadly up front because people know straight away they're dying. But I don't even know how many people. It's about 3% serious adverse risk already instantly are dying or serious illness, lifetime illness. For 3% if you take a vaccine now. But wait 6-9 months, what that jumps up to, and in 3 years. But by then it's too late. The idea that anyone could be sane enough to go, oh, let's mass vaccinate the entire world with an unproven vaccine for a man flu. I mean, if that doesn't wake people up, it's absolutely absurd. But then people don't want to believe the big lie, Joel. We know, look at Hitler. Hitler's PR guy was always like, the key to fooling so many people is just they never believe the big lies. You can tell a big lie and get away with it because people suspect little lies, because we all tell little lies, little white lies, etc., but they don't suspect the big lie. See, people don't want to accept the reality that maybe there's some people that have way too much power on this planet, way too much money, and falsely believe we're overpopulated, and they want to do something about that. They want to depopulate the planet. People don't want to believe that big lie, because Channel 7's not going to tell them that. Channel 7's going to tell them no. They're going to tell them a different big lie they'll believe. Oh, COVID's a global pandemic is going to kill you if you don't take a poison and inject it into your children, your grandparents. That's the reality. Yeah. They want to accept reality or not, that will be their choosing. But the ignorance is deadly. If we start to, now it's not a matter of believing me or believing mainstream media. I just say to people, go and do your own bloody research. You'll soon figure it out. And if you don't like the truth, you can't hide anymore. The truth is going to come find you. That's the reality of the world we live in now. The vaccine, you're going to have to make a choice. No, take the vaccine or take the vaccine.
Yeah, and maybe that's the part that they're scared of most, right? Is if I find out what the truth is, my reality changes. I have a very strong belief, and maybe this doesn't gel with everyone. That's okay. I'm willing to take that hit. There is a war on reality right now, right?
Absolutely.
World War III looks different. It's not, they can't go do World War I. They can't go do World War II because it's too obvious. They tried it. It doesn't work. Evil forces are at play. If you think that we live in a world of sunshine and rainbows, you're fooling yourself. I coach thousands and thousands and thousands. You've coached 500,000 or so or more. Like, bro, there are so many wounded people. There are so many people that are living in trauma. There are so many people that haven't forgiven those around them that they get to forgive. There's so many people that come from lack, scarcity, right? And they're trying to create from this place. They live in fear, guilt, shame. They blame one another. Like, this is the reality of the world we live in. We live in a fallen planet, essentially. From a spiritual perspective, there's you can't deny it. Like, we're at the point now where there's a lot of this dark that's going on, man. You see what's happening in pop culture. It's almost like America at that. Like, for all my American followers, I'm sure most of you would agree. It's kind of like the you follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole, and then you find the magic potion and drink it. Next thing, the whole world's upside down. Like, that's what's happening in America right now. What used to be considered bad is now good. Things that you could question, you can't question anymore. There's a war in reality. It just looks different, right? So let's look at this, man. Let's pull this apart. Let's say you're in a third world, you're in a first world country. Let's say you're in the Western civilization, in America, Canada, Australia, UK. This is where most of the listeners are. And we seem pretty cushy. We've lived in mostly times of peace. Now this has come to our doorstep. And there's some sort of a control measure that's in play. They call it a medical apartheid. I believe that, with this vaccine passport. What do we do next, man? Like, in order to move into solution rather than stay in problem, is there, even if someone feels like, I don't know if it's 100% true yet, but maybe they could get some ducks in a row. How have you managed this? Because I know you're ahead of the curve with a lot of these things. You're great with your investments, great with your structures. What's the game plan that you're advising people right now?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I'm doing up a report, which I'll make publicly available, and we're getting a report commissioned by several of our foundations we're involved in. The good news is there's a large army of us that are working around the clock now to deliver solutions. I think part of it, before you look at solutions, is awareness. The first step, which is a solution, first step to change is that awareness. A lot of people must get much more aware. It's just a comfort bubble to think everything's okay. I think the first thing for people to accept is the way how the world has been up until the end of 2019, say. It's over. So we have to first let go of the old world. If we're kidding ourselves, it's ever going to go back to that. So if we keep clinging to the past, which is something humans are very good at, we don't want to let go of our past, but something is moving into our future. We have to now accept, whether we like it or not, whether you believe in COVID or not, the world how it was is gone, and gone forever. So that's the first step before we accept change. So there's going to be massive uncertainty regardless. Now, as we know, most people, Joel, aren't good at dealing with uncertainty. The greater your capacity to deal with uncertainty, greater your capacity to be successful or wealthy or any endeavor in life. Most people aren't good at that. That's why they cling to whatever the government says. The government says take this poison, and it's, there's even Bill Gates has told people, they haven't exactly lied about their agenda. Yes, you'll kill or seriously injure 700,000 people. That's in the early stages. I mean, but people will cling to power, like the people that represent power, the governments or the mainstream media. So that's the average person. But I'm going to suggest your listeners are probably not in that bracket. Most of your listeners are aware, are awake, or certainly going through that process. So once enough people, or you get to a point where you realize the reality, as I said, don't make it out worse than it is, or don't make it out better than it is. Just what is the situation we are dealing with? Then we can chart a path. Now, to say I have all the answers, or there is solutions that were guaranteed, there is at this point in time, I would be saying to people, and I'm going out to some of my wealthy friends, etc., because some of them don't get it yet. I would be saying right now, Houston, we have a problem. We have a serious problem, and we are seriously running out of time. So first of all, we have to accept that there may be no effective solutions, and we may be facing the world's going in a horrible place if we can't stop this. And then we may have to accept that some things we can't control, and we can't stop it. Now, I believe there is things that we can do, and I believe in the faith of humanity, and I believe enough people educated and working together for being a force for good, that we dramatically increase our chances of making the world a great place. Now, on the other side of this, if we can overcome, I guess we say, this evil agenda, the people that have too much influence on this planet and don't have the best intentions and not honest transparency, not transparent about their agendas. If we can overcome this, we can create the world in the way it should have been, the way it could be. So the good news is, if we win this war, there's massive reward, okay? But we are going to have to go through turmoil and massive uncertainty. So it's easier, and I know why. It's easy for most people just to stay in denial. No, it must be a conspiracy. No, there could never be that. Because everyone else is saying, like the example of the Titanic. If we knew we're on the Titanic and we know the future, that Titanic within an hour is going to crash into an iceberg and most people are going to die. But if you're at the bar on the Titanic and you're not really, you heard that it's a conspiracy, might not happen, whatever, and you're drinking at the bar with everyone else, and everyone else seems in denial as well and seems okay about it, there's this false sense of security that you think everything's okay. And that's what people are clinging to because, no, everyone else knows these things will go back to normal. And that is such a deadly trap. To know something, so some of your listeners already know the full extent of what's going on. To know something and not to do is not to know as well. So this is the other thing. If any human being and any endeavor, and you would know this to be true, if we have advanced information, if you know more than other people, then you have an advantage. But if we know certain things that are happening and we don't do anything about it, we just keep trying to deny it because everyone else is and don't plan, then we might as well not know, So the first step is definitely awareness. So we have to continue that and find out more because you have to develop certainty within that you know exactly what's real, what's not. Then you're more likely to act. So the good news is that, there's a lot of good people on this planet. So we are doing all sorts of things. We're working now. We're launching the Global Health Organization very soon because we're competing against the World Health Organization, which is basically one world government that's dictating policies. And the World Health Organization, if you don't know, Joe, you would know, many of your listeners, is basically a Bill Gates-run organization. Bill Gates controls that. He's the largest private donor, largest donor by any country. And Bill and Fauci cut their teeth on the AIDS scam. The AIDS scam, it wasn't that people didn't die of AIDS, but I remember being with Tony Robbins in 1994 in Hawaii, and Tony had a doctor friend that was exposing the AIDS scam. And basically what they did with AIDS is they'd lie with statistics. They basically keep expanding the definition of what you might die from and counting as AIDS to show a graph, make it look like a global pandemic. Because once it's deemed a global pandemic, all the members of WHO, most countries around the world, have to release billions from their health budgets. Just like people trying to figure out if COVID's a scam, you've been already scammed. Your governments have been scammed already. Because in 2010, some of your listeners might know, but there was a motion put to European Parliament that the World Health Organization, the drug, i.e. vaccine companies, had dangerous levels of influence over the World Health Organization, and they got caught out trying to hype a normal flu strain out of South America into a global pandemic, but they didn't get away with it. So what Gates and them did after 2010 was change the definition to make it easier for WHO to deem it a global pandemic. Why? Because once COVID when they tried this scam again in 2019, after they did Event 201, which is a simulation exercise, and then the real thing was rolled out. Once they got it to be deemed a global pandemic, our governments had to hand over billions of dollars to drugs and vaccine makers and grants, research, blah, blah, blah. And then now Gates is asking for another $301 billion for WHO. These are very profitable scams, but let's not just think this is about money. It's about more than money. It's about a depopulation agenda. So whether we want to believe that or not, I don't think they're waiting to ask you or I or any of your listeners for permission. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter what you believe. It's what is. Does that make sense? And this is what people have to get through their reality. I'm not here to convince anyone whatever. I know what's happening and I'm going to act according to that and plan ahead of that. Still massive uncertainty and there's no guarantee of success. But the question comes down to each of us, Joel, is would we rather know the truth as uncomfortable as it is, or we'd rather remain in denial and plausible deniability and just go about our life thinking the world's okay until, clearly it's not going to be in the next 2-3 years what's going to happen. So I would dare say most of us would go, Jamie, I'd just rather know the goddamn truth as uncomfortable as it is because I'd rather know. Other people go, no, I'd rather not know. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I'd place some pretty big bets on the fact that if you and I lived by this belief that ignorance is bliss, we probably wouldn't be successful in our own right. We wouldn't be leaders, bro, because leaders are the one that take the hit. They're the one that, carves the path. They're the courageous ones. And I don't know, some people don't want that kind of call on their life. Maybe it's not part of their journey. But I look at it and I look at like, a lot of people are asking the question when I share this stuff like you do too, and you do it in great high volumes and very targeted. I love the way that you share your content, man, by the way. When I share, I get messages from people that I wouldn't say they're in denial. They're kind of going through a process now of looking at kind of weighing things up. And often I hear this question, but why would they do that? But why?
Yeah.
So I think that actually what you broke down is starting to create a pretty good case for it, man. And I think that that's the thing, is people aren't necessarily fully ignorant. Because it's not in their heart at this point in time, they're trying to make sense of why someone would even do that to another person. And I get it, because, bro, this is crazy. What Hitler and Stalin and all these terrible human beings did, you and I are capable of that too. That evil is also able to expand itself in our heart. We at our core have some wickedness. We live in a world where we're dark and light, right? We have these dimensions to us. It's just like whether you want to entertain that or not. There's a saying, the higher you climb, the darker the attic gets, right? And if you haven't centered yourself and you don't have a moral compass anymore, a lot of these guys, these eugenicists, which means they believe in, population control, and, they get all the money in the world. They get the private jets, and Bill Gates is talking about climate change. He has one of the biggest freaking yachts in the world that chews up and muzzles gas on to freaking to the nth degree. Hypocrites, pure hypocrites, right? When they get to this point, all that's left is power and dominance and significance. They get their jollies off on it. And so we're going to look at that and go, well, I'm not there yet, but that doesn't mean that that's not possible in us as human beings. So when we start peeling back and then looking at why is this in place? Like, let's look at both sides of the coin to weigh this one up now for real.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I understand why people ask that, but why would they do that? It's because they have no comprehension or ability to fathom. Because why? Because we've been raised as good, honest people. So we would ask that question because why? Because we would never do that. We can never imagine that child sex trafficking exists and people do satanic worshipping and, kill babies and drink their blood. Why would you do that? I mean, we can't imagine that because we would never do that. Does that make sense? So first of all, the other thing people say with conspiracies, they're like, or just couldn't be true because they couldn't get everyone in on it. And this is the delusional state of trying to rebut. Like, well, no, they don't know the way the world works. Not everyone is on it. I don't think our Prime Minister in Australia is deliberately trying to depopulate Australia. It's just these people are, I wouldn't even say puppets. They're just misled. Our Australian Health Minister, Greg Hunt, took the vaccine and he was in hospital 2 days later. He took the blood-clotting AstraZeneca and he had one of the adverse reactions of AstraZeneca, but of course, deniable any link. So these people are actually, some of them are actually taking the vaccine. They actually believe, they're believing Jim Jones and they're swallowing the poison and they believe they're doing the right thing. So not all these people are in on it. I mean, the way to get push for big lies, it's from the top. It's a top-down approach. If you can control who, you can control the world. We used to think it was going to be the United Nations was the one world government who, under emergency powers, who can dictate health policies around the world. And if you want to know who's dictating health policies now, it's who. They send out the directives to the medical associations around the world. The medical associations direct it to the government and to the doctors. And that's why they say we're going to use the PCR test and turn the cycles to this level. And as soon as Biden become elected, turn the cycles down so it shows a few less cases, makes Biden look better. It's all, this is a politicized virus, remember. And we know the PCR test kit is worthless. So why are we counting healthy people as sick? I mean, such a scary pandemic, they have to count healthy people. It's just absurd, right? It's almost like they're taking the piss out of us. But see, people don't want to let go of the old world. They don't want to let go because if they find out that this is a big fraud and a big lie, what else is their life being based on that's a big lie? If you've spent 6 years becoming a lawyer or a doctor, and if you speak out, like if you're a doctor, you can earn $1 or $2 million a year, but if you speak out, that license, that right to earn an income disappears. Like for me, speaking out years ago on a lot of stuff in government corruption, I lost tens of millions of dollars for that. So it's a risk. But now the old world is over. So we're going to have to make this jump and let go of our old business incomes, let go of our old certainty. Because there's a new world order coming, whether we like it or not. That's pretty obvious. There's a global coup on right now, the Great Reset. So the question comes down to, if we're going to participate in this new world order, are we going to create our new world order initiative, our world order initiative, the way that we want the world to be, or are we just going to allow others to dictate to us? Because if we don't start setting the path and going, this is how it's going to be, no, I won't wear a mask, no, I'm not taking the vaccine, and enough of us stand up there, no, we're not going to accept this, and we're going to fight back, and this is how it's going to be, instead of just having the World Health Organization in the one-horse race, we're creating the Global Health Organization. And doctors and scientists wish to desert the World Health Organization or supporting them, and governments can now have a choice, have a two-horse race. And I can tell you now, the Global Health Organization's already said there is no pandemic. COVID is not a serious public health risk. We don't need a vaccine. So who are we going to listen to? The independent doctors that actually speak the truth, or are we going to listen to paid-off doctors that are pushed out there as experts by the corruption? So why would they do that? Who cares? The fact is they are doing it. It doesn't matter. Oh, but they might be unintended consequences. So here's what the reality is. The most dangerous word on the planet is inadvertent. See, people think things happen inadvertently, but you and I know, Joel, that to create anything on the planet takes a lot of goddamn planning. Things don't just magically, coincidentally, generally happen. There has to actually be some order and structure and manifestation and intention. Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott spoke out about a month ago saying, look, we've got to get from underneath the doona and stop. We've dealt with these sort of things before, the Hong Kong flu in the 60s, swine flu in the 70s. It's not the end of the world. But, we've got to show some stoicism and be courageous and stop living under the doona. And I agree with his comments. But the only thing Tony Abbott and these people miss out, they don't want to join the dots. They don't want to join the dot that this is premeditated. It's a plandemic, not a pandemic. And there's people working with an agenda that they don't disclose. Why? Because we'd never accept it. So they're going to disguise it. So they can't go out and go, because these people do believe in eugenics. They do believe in the depopulation of the planet. They want to cut the world's population from 7.5 billion to 1 billion. Not because there's why they want to have 1 billion in their club. There's about 100 million of these elites. They want 900 million servants. That's the billion people that will be left. The rest, they consider people useless meat eaters. So if you think there's not people on this planet that don't give a damn about human life, that don't conspire, then we're just deluded, just because we would never do that. So the point is, it's happening whether we like it or not. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? And when we look back, and history is going to judge each and every one of us, Joel, we know that to be true. What are our kids or grandchildren going to say? Like, what did you do about this 2020, 2021, when there was the warning signs were going off, the red flags were going off and flashing? What did we do about it? Did we too scared to speak out on Facebook because we're worried what our peer-reviewed friends might think? Our friends with more degrees than brains, really, we've got to grow a spine. We know the truth. People know the truth. They really want to accept the truth. It's just like any aspect of our life. But are we going to stay not in the truth? Making sense? So there is solutions out there, but the solution is going to come from what then happens when people find out it can be depressing. But that's part of the emotional trauma we're going to go through, letting go of the old and renewing and accepting our new reality. And then you get really excited, really passionate, go yes, and you move forward. Then you'll go through another roller coaster. It's traumatic, but that's the price to pay. Staying delusional is going to be very traumatic. You're going to be vaccinated to death, and you're going to see all your family and friends die. Or if you're unable to influence your family and friends not to take the vaccine, you're going to witness them dying. 3 years average life expectancy, 6 to 9 months, you're going to see. So you don't have to believe what I'm saying. Just stick around and watch and see what happens. Do you know what I'm saying? We just have to accept the reality, but let's do something about that. So yes, it's scary, massive uncertainty, but even if those are clean, even business, etc., there's going to be a whole new ecosystem, a whole new world economy created. So we're going to lose and let go, but the sooner we let go and move forward, we have to do that in our life all the time anyhow. Is that true, Joel? At times in our life, we always had to let go of the past and create our new individual future. Now we have to let go of the past collectively, and we all collectively have to choose the future for the world. We have to have an interest in global politics, and we have to improve our own life individually, but we have to realize that we're not alone. You're not alone. You're not the only people out there. There's an army of force for good. And when you get disempowered and go, well, but here's the other thing, but what can I do about it? This is the other thing people face. I can't really do anything. It's just me. It's like we're screwed. There's nothing you can do. But that's also a false myth. There is more of us, and we can do a lot to change this. It's not easy. The world is going to go through very difficult times. It already is, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. We have to accept that reality. But together, if we believe, and whether you're religious or not, I tell people, I don't care if you're religious or not, but start bloody praying. Okay, we're going to need all the help we can get, and we're going to have to go in faith. Whether you're religious or not, it's not about that, but you're going to have to believe in a higher power, and that there's a higher power, a force for good in this world that will assist us, will help us, because right now humanity needs massive help. And it's Houston, we have a problem. There should be red flags going off everywhere, but I still know some smart people, and I'm going to have to update them, even some of my wealthier network, like, guys, there's a serious problem and you're still not realizing it yet. So most people don't get that yet. But if you realize that sooner than others, you can start preparing. For instance, now, like, I'm selling a house on the Gold Coast, for multiple reasons, but because I'm changing the course, even with my assets and everything. But we need to take care of our own food supplies because there's a food shortage coming. They'll do everything. They'll lie, charlatans. They'll do anything to get people to take this vaccine. If you don't think there's something sus about that, because otherwise, why would they care? Some people take it, some people don't. They will do anything to get you to take a vaccine. And those rebels that resist, God help what's going to happen if we don't prepare for ourselves. So I'm setting up sustainable villages, and I want to roll that around the world. That's one thing we can do. We need sustainable villages that we can go to that grows our own food, has our own water supply, diesel, backup, everything, because we're going to need that. Otherwise, people in cities, it's easy to, as you say, invisible war. You can take down a city easily now. Just cut off Coles and Woolworths in Australia, or your shopping centres, wherever you are in the world. Just people in the cities would starve in 1 to 2 weeks. 1 to 2 weeks, they're gone. We are so dependent now on such a centralized system for our food and everything, and Gates is behind all that, the global food thing, that they will, and this is what's coming, and particularly in America, they will create food shortages, and they'll only hand out the food packages. You'll have the choice, take the vaccine or starve to death, if you don't have a plan B in place. So whether we like it or not, we should have a plan B. We need to be able to grow our own food, have our own water, have our own things, because when things do go from bad to worse, you don't want to be left starving. You don't want to have to be dependent upon a government that is being pushed by the elite to push a vaccine on you. Otherwise, you don't get to live in the world. You won't be able to go on a flight. You won't be able to go to any restaurant, into a bar. That's what they're planning right now, digital passports in Australia, in America. They're going to try and shut us out from living. But you did take this vaccine and take all this and you can live. Why would we accept that from con man, charlatans and liars that want to coerce, bully and intimidate our grandmothers into taking a vaccine, our little kids into taking a vaccine? Why would we ever listen to these people and give them any credibility, any respect? Anyone participating in the COVID fraud should be sent to jail, and hopefully one day they will. Does it make sense, Joel?
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down, man. It makes a lot of sense. And I'm putting myself in the shoes of the listeners that are sitting going, whoa, all right, here we go. Buckle up, right? There's an end game when we view it from a perspective of we got to have all the answers, and we're going to do, because this is how a lot of people are approaching it, is like, we're going to set up this and we're going to do this and this and that. All right, cool. We prepare. We get ahead of the curve. The infinite game, which goes beyond this, is, there's a saying in the scriptures, is essentially that the body can be destroyed, but you can't take the soul and spirit, right? And so what I'm seeing, and I had, if you know Ricardo Bossi, he's a political figure in Australia, and he's very much in a similar page to you and I about this. And he said, Joel, he said, how do they break us down? He said, they attack each pillar of our life, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, our physical, right? The business, what's supplied to us, where we eat. Like you said, this is the thing. It's happening on subtle levels, but often we don't respond until it's too late, Exactly. And he's like, I love people and I care for people, and I wouldn't be a leader if I wasn't putting the word out. And so, it sounds like this is what we're doing too, is to look at this. One of the core pillars for sure, bro. Like, you can have your business super successful with that money coming in, but if your health is shot, bro, they got you by the ghoulies. They've got you where it hurts, because you essentially can't do much if you can't get out of bed, and you can't think straight if you're feeling off. Your energy is one of the most important commodities. So
absolutely,
I think, like, really structuring, right? Like, for you, let's talk about it, like, in a nutshell. If you could break down some of those categories of life, like, okay, you talked about physical environment, getting into a new space. You talked about food, getting some good food in your system. Obviously, your immune system is the ultimate weapon against disease, right? But we also have your finances. Like, I know you invested in crypto. I've been investing in crypto too. Are you a crypto dude? Do you think we should have our money in just in Bitcoin? Should we be diversifying, or we got fiat? Like, what's a move that you can see so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because these things we have to factor in. Obviously, they're more surface level issues, that the key issues we have to win this war up against. Otherwise, none of that will matter. But as far as obviously I was an early Bitcoin investor, one of the first books on Bitcoin in the world. So I recognize that trend in the early days, and those people that listened to me, did very well. I'm still a big believer in crypto. I'm a backer in several new cryptos, and that's going to be a big part of the new future. So what we've got to understand is that people build up successful businesses might have done well. The whole world is over. So unless you're a massively large company that wants to participate in depopulation agenda and join the elite club, communism, they bring in global deterrent communism. That's a great reset. So if you're thinking that's a conspiracy, go and check out the Great Reset. It's not, anything that, so many conspiracy theories have come true in the last year. I wouldn't doubt too many, whatever your mainstream media is telling you, do the opposite. That's the simple way. If you don't know what's is whatever they're telling you is a lie, do the exact opposite. Okay. I used to teach that in my seminars. You want to be successful, find out what most people are doing and go in the opposite direction. You'll be fine. So that's the shortcut if you want to figure that out. So as far as assets, yeah, definitely like crypto, digital currency is the future of the world. But the key is we want digital currency that is decentralized, that the money, the Wall Street bankers that run the world, etc., that are skimming the existing system, corrupted the existing system and are raping and pillaging it for their advantage. That's why you have to pay so much income tax, and that's why we work so hard to be able to put food on the table. And the New World Order was done in the correct way. We'd eliminate all that. We don't want government-backed digital currencies because that's centralized, and that's what we're getting away from. So decentralized currencies are part of the future. So yes, I can't give financial advice, but yes, I'm a good believer still in crypto, and will continue to invest there. Real estate, depends where you're at. I've always predicted in Australia the real estate market accurately, in America as well. In Australia, we're going through a massive property boom right now, which I said it would happen. That will last, and in places like Gold Coast, people moving to, so population's surging. So that's what drives property prices, low interest, etc. So property probably won't hurt, depends on where you are in the world. But when a lot of people start dying, that's going to affect, and sadly, going to affect property prices in the future. Because if you look at the projected population, and this is what we were questioning for years, Deagle and these other military associated sites that predict population. Australia's population is predicted, I think, by 2025 to be only 15 million, down 10 million from 25 million. America is expected to drop by 50, 60%. So these population accurate predictions have been around for a long time, which just highlights to the pandemic as opposed to pandemic agenda. Or actually, there's no point in even thinking that. It actually is. So whether listeners like this or not, I've seen the information, I've seen the documents. There's a massive depopulation agenda, and they're out to kill us all. So whether we want to accept that or not, we can keep being nice and believing in them, but the world is going to change whether we like it or not. Yeah. So yeah, financially, there's going to be a new we're going to create a new ecosystem. So we're creating an alternative to the World Economic Forum. So all these structures that have been created and have been hijacked and corrupted, like WHO, the Global Health Organization, will compete directly against that. And the Global Economic Forum will compete against the World Economic Forum, and we'll start fostering these businesses to help businesses that don't demand people wear masks or be vaccinated to go into. And so there's going to be a massive ecosystem in the new world of tremendous opportunity. So out of crisis comes opportunity. So if we can keep our heads focused and do what we can to change the world and let go of the rest of it, financially, many can do very well. And we need to do well, because if we have the money and the power, we have the ability to protect our life that it should be, and to create the world in the shape and the vision that we want it to be. It's because we've neglected that. It's because we've been too busy watching sport or on Instagram or being distracted by Hollywood celebrities that are there to distract you. We have to accept responsibility. We've allowed people to be able to do a globalist coup, take over the world, plan for years, put people in powerful positions, accumulate so much wealth, and make it so hard for the rest of us to. We have allowed that to happen by, I guess, ignorance. So we have to accept some responsibility for allowing the world to get in the dangerous situation it is in now, because we're asleep at the wheel. We believed the conspiracy theories for too long on mainstream media and didn't listen to the alternative narratives. We didn't do our own research. We get too busy, like, oh, I'm not into politics. Well, yes, you are, whether you like it or not. It affects you, global politics. So we have to accept responsibility. We contributed to this failing world. But we then, in owning that, we can accept responsibility. Let's create the world the way that we want it, and we will dictate the terms. It's either we dictate the terms or we're going to be dictated to. And that's the reality. So it takes leadership, etc. But there's massive opportunity. And it's just being educated and then educated, knowing more than others, and then acting on that education.
Man, such a great breakdown. Such a great breakdown. And, you know, I know that for some people, this is quite a bit. It's quite a bit to think about, especially if you've been in the middle kind of going, I'm not sure. Even if if you've been on the other side going, I was about to get, you know, the jab, but now I'm realizing, okay, this doesn't make sense. Look, I'm telling you, man, I see a lot of intelligent people in the space that I know have been very ahead of the curve on many things, and they're thinking very similar to us. And that's not to, I'm not about shaming people that think different. I think it's a very narcissistic, controlling, manipulative, psychopathic move, which seems to be coming a lot from mainstream media and these figures higher up. But just know, like, in us sharing this, we're sharing this from the love of our hearts. You know, it's not coming from fear. And that's the thing we get to ask ourselves when we make decisions: is it coming from love or fear? You know, and looking at it from a space of what's most important to me right now. Like, if I genuinely care about my health, care about my loved ones, you'd want to do the research, because sticking your head in the sand is not doing anyone any favors. And the more that we do this, like, bro, I put up polls on my Instagram when I do Insta stories. Sometimes I'll share something and I'll say, you guys buying this? You know, do you still think this is a conspiracy? I'd say damn near 94 to 96% of my followers, and I get thousands upon thousands and thousands of votes, are all like, they're not buying it anymore. It's just that most people aren't speaking up, which is super unfortunate. And this, like, shutting people off and canceling people. I saw a video the other day. You might have seen it. This guy was breaking it down. He's a socialist psychologist or so on. And he said, cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for mass murder. And I was like, whoa, that's heavy. That's big. But when you look deeper into it, think about it. This practice of, you can cancel a sitting president, whether you like Trumpy or not, whatever it may be. You cancel someone in a high position like that, which, bro, you did that 20, 30 years ago, you'd be hung for treason.
Exactly.
You know? But like, to do this, to cancel sitting president, to cancel, whether it's left or right, whoever it is, anyone that shares something that's different from the conspiracy, you know, the forced narrative, the agenda, this is a practice to see how will people react. And the more that we do it, and the more that people accept it, the less sensitive they become to it. We're going to go that step further. And the step further is not just making people disappear online, but making them disappear in the physical too, and seeing how people handle that one. They did it already with the, was it the Tanzania president?
They've done it, or of the African presidents now, not just Tanzania.
Yeah, they went, disappeared, right? Gone. And by the way, Tedros Moses somehow gets his hands in it, who's the leader of the World Health Organization with Billy Boy, and goes and puts this puppet in place to replace. It's like carefully positioned people that are will abide. And you guys have listened to all the episodes. I have hundreds and hundreds of episodes with all these, you know, people, Tony Robbins and Deepak and all these people. You know, I'm here to spread love. And you know, Jamie, when you look at his work, he's here to for the betterment of humanity. We're not just sharing this as like it's a concept. It's legit. And now it's time to wake up. Share this with your friends, with your family, with your followers. Jamie, if you know someone, like, because I had a conversation the other day, one of the girls is following me and says, hey, Joel, you know, I know this stuff that you're sharing is true, but like, what do I tell my sister? My sister just got, you know, the first run. And I said, well, she hasn't taken the second yet. Tell her not to take it. Like, send her this stuff, share all this stuff. Like, if the first one didn't get you, they're going to want to try and get you with the second. I believe our immune system's pretty dope. Like, it's pretty awesome, and it can fight quite a bit. And I think that if you're now wavering and going, oh man, what do we do now? What do you think, Jamie? Because I think the time's ticking right now. We need to step up.
You'll have to realize, even people like myself and others, that we're not going to make too many more warnings. We got to move into, probably is going to happen, stealth mode soon, and action and behind the scenes doing to try and save this planet and save humanity. So people, they're being given enough warnings. Okay, they're not listening. If it's your family and friends, I'm fortunate enough I can influence enough people that most of my family and friends would never take a vaccine. But others that are having trouble influencing them, you can send them to my videos or whatever. I'm a bit more brutally honest, and sometimes I deliberately to offend people, because sometimes people need to be offended to snap them out of their hypnosis. But ultimately, it's their choice what they do, and that's what people have to understand. If you go and put an untested, unproven, ineffective, dangerous, deadly poison into your body that you haven't researched for what to stop, that doesn't even stop a man flu, that's not going to kill you, then you've got to look at why are you so insane to do that. Many people will do it because they're indoctrinated. So do your best to protect your family and friends. But I've said people at the beginning of this year, sadly, many of us will lose family and friends in 2021 because you're unable to reach them and get them to stop doing it. You can go the other way. People are going to go ahead, and your parents or whatever are going to go ahead and do it. Or you say, well, can you at least, put some money into a trust fund so, if you do die after taking it, there's some money there to pay for your funeral. Or if you're going to get, 3% of people already getting full-time medical care from the initial stage, not to mention what's going to happen 6 to 9 months, who's going to look after you? So that maybe, or can you come and say goodbye to your grandkids, at least before you take it? So you're trying to reach them with the reality of truth, because they should do that. I mean, how many people you've seen posting on Facebook? Yeah, I just got the COVID vaccine, and then it's like 3 days later, they're dead. So if people don't realize, if you're going to watch, I'm on the threads, I see how many people dying daily and the adverse reaction. So, I see the evidence. But most people in mainstream media, all you heard about was people that died of COVID. Well, actually, they didn't die of COVID. They died of comorbidities. They're already dying. Oh, but if someone elderly now died from the COVID vaccine, oh, no, they didn't really die of the COVID vaccine. They already had comorbidities. They were already dying. You see the hypocrisy of how they spin it around? There's a reality is you have to accept it. If you could go through 2020 and we're now into April 2021, and if you haven't woken up yet, if someone hasn't woken up yet, maybe just pray for them. God help them, because they haven't seen enough red flags now to wake up. Then perhaps they're never going to wake up, and perhaps that's part of their journey. They're going to follow Jim Jones' vaccine cult, drink a poison, and kill themselves. But they probably won't know, because they'll still be in denial when they're dying, because they're like, oh, no, it's not from the vaccine, because Channel 7's telling them it's no direct link. CNN, it's no direct link. So they'll still blissfully end up dying and still think they were right. But it's a dangerous way to go. I'm just going to call on people and go, you know what? If we're going to die, and we're all going to die one day, let's go down dying, fighting for freedom and fighting for the betterment of humanity and fighting for a future for our children and grandchildren. We are dealing with, con artists and charlatans and people that are despicable, that have evil agendas for the world. And what are we doing? Sitting around twiddling our thumbs. Should I take the vaccine? Should I not? Of course you shouldn't. Why would you listen to these people? They don't have your best interest at heart. But then people won't listen to people that are pouring their heart out, risking their entire career, their entire credibility to try and warn them. So the point being is that if people don't even listen now, there's a fair chance they're never going to listen. But there is people out there we are reaching. And it's just like your friends are going to say, like people go, "What, Jamie, why didn't you tell me to invest in Bitcoin in the early days?" I'm like, I think I did. They're like, well, why didn't you really shake me and tell me? So we have that duty and obligation, not just to tell people, but really go to our friends or family. Look, I'm begging from my heart for you to just do your own research before you do this, because then at least you're not going to feel guilty that you didn't put the best effort in to help save your family and friends. But if you don't do that, you're going to live a life of regret when you have to say goodbye to your loved ones, because, guys, this vaccine is not for any other reason than to kill you. Don't have to believe that, Gary, but you don't have to believe that. Just put $1 million up. There's $1 million. If you don't believe me, put $1 million up. I'll give you $1 million. You can prove me wrong.
Yeah, you did that. I remember you did that on social media. So for those that missed it, Jamie put out a challenge and he said, I'll give $1 million to someone that can prove this is actually legit. And no one could do it. He had people all online. You had like news channels, like people trying to slam you. They'll slamming Pete Evans. They'll slamming a whole bunch of people that are sharing truth out there. And it just goes to show, man. Like, look, these people up top are trying to play God. And if you're trying to play God, it means you don't believe in God, which means you don't have a moral compass, which means that you're going to believe that we have to put the planet first. I'm not a fan of global warming, and I'll probably get bashed hard for this one. I think it's a load of crock.
It's the same thing.
It's a Trojan horse, mate. It's a Trojan horse, just like COVID. So, and this is the thing, they're treating us all like a bunch of leads and trying to funnel us into their system to market everything they want to us, to take everything they can. We're a bunch of leads to them, floating data amongst the ether. And that's the problem, man, is like you take the moral compass out of play. What have you got left? You're going to try and play God, and their end game is save the planet, which is wrong. Like for me, I'm a Christian. I believe the planet is ultimately, at the end of the day, is disposable. Some people may not like that. I believe we're called to look after the planet. We're called to look after that which God has created and given to us. But ultimately, Christ's main concern is to look after humans, to be there for human to human. That was his biggest concern, is to love one another. What's happening right now is not loving one another. It's control, it's manipulation, it's narcissistic, it's psychopathic. And like, I don't know, maybe some people, I felt this, bro. I've been in a relationship with a narcissist. I coach people that have been in narcissistic relationship. And I don't use that word lightly. Like some people label it, but bro, this feels like that. And I found a lot of people that have experienced narcissism and came out of it are feeling very similar feelings to what's going on with this control measures that are in place now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a total control play. Yeah, it's sad. And then what they're going to do is they're going to pit the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. So they always want to create left and right. So people have to be aware of where this is heading. So they're going to like basically more and more people go, I don't really believe in the vaccine, but I want to travel overseas. So they'll fall for the lie because they want you to travel overseas because people that take the vaccine are going to shed the virus and mutant strains. And they want those people to travel to spread the virus around the world. Okay.
What's that mean? You're saying shedding?
Shedding, yeah. So if you get injected, you'll shed the virus, and it's designed to shed mutant strains. It's designed to activate. So when normal diseases come along, the vaccine will overactivate your immune system, which will lead to brain swelling, massive amount of mad cow disease you're going to start seeing next 6 to 9 months. The vaccinated will become dangerous for the unvaccinated because the vaccinated will spread the disease. That's why they want them to travel briefly. There is no more future travel other than that. They only want the elites and private jets traveling the world. So do not buy any of their lies. If you think, getting a few free donuts from Krispy Kreme to be vaccinated is a good public health policy, I mean, this is just a joke, right? McDonald's paying $4 and 4 hours bonus, $40 to teenagers to take the COVID vax. I mean, is that what a teenager's life is worth? $40? These are criminals, right? To coerce, bully, intimidate anyone doing that is a fraudster. And then when the world restores itself to a proper order, these people would be in jail or hung around the village trees for treason, So don't listen to fraudsters or charlatans or con men or people that want to murder your children. Have already killed granny. They're going to turn the vaccinated against the unvaccinated and say the unvaccinated are a threat to public health. And they're already building quarantine camps in Australia. They've already got them built in America. So that's what I'm saying. That's where the world is heading. These people will stop at nothing. And unless we get toughened up and realize we're up against an evil enemy, we're lambs to slaughter. We are lambs to slaughter. So we have to toughen up. We have to believe in the greater good and be a force for good. And we have to have courage. Otherwise, we will not win this war. But we can win this war because we're fighting against weak, demasculated men. Most of these men that are running this show, they're weak cowards. They like to intimidate and bully. It's time men out there stood up and be men, and women out there, become strong women. That is necessary because we're going into war. Just because they've had 70 years of so-called peace and complacency, we need to toughen up because we're deluding ourselves and we're taking all these freedoms for granted. And that's the danger. We created this because we took so much for granted. We didn't realize that just be able to go to a supermarket and get food and a whole range of food is like a massive, grateful for that. We have not looked after the world. We've taken it for granted. And that world's now being taken away from us because we didn't look after it. But it's a wake-up call, and great, we need to wake up. Those who don't wake up, I'm sorry, life has consequences. Take a vaccine, it has consequences. That's just the reality. So it's up to people what they do. By all means, make a very wise choice.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is far beyond just what we see on the news and media. Like, we're getting it kind of as the last line of whatever the information is by the time they're already making the moves, right? So this is chess and checkers all at the same time. We've got to be smart about this, be strategic, come from love. Thank you for sharing your insights and advice, Jamie, man. I really appreciate you. I know we could have talked about, we could have gone on here, bro, talked about entrepreneurship and speaking on stages and building business. It's not time for that. Like, we've got that. You've been speaking about that. I've been speaking about it. We've got tons of episodes on that. I love that you've been able to be courageous enough to step in and be real. And I know the place you're coming from. All of the things that you've said, for the most part, like 95% of it, I've witnessed it myself and seen it. So this gives some form of edification here and reinforcement. For those that may be even doubting it, like, I don't know, Jamie, can they just hit you up on certain things or have a look on your page? And I'm sure you'd be able to send even resource links to actual people that are saying this, like censored legit doctors and immunologists that are actually saying that this stuff is true, that you're able to. So I know that what you're sharing, you always share from a place of what you can back up through resources and links. So if anyone's doubting, do your research.
Yeah, absolutely. Australian National Review, we provide unlimited amount of articles and content. ANRnews.com is probably the quickest way to get there. Join our Telegram threads, etc., and you can start being updated and join a community of people that a global citizen journalists that share and so much intel. I mean, we're fortunate. We do get a lot of information ahead of others, and we have to use that to our advantage to better prepare and warn others. But yeah, no, it's scary times, but if people have faith and step up to the mark and come from truth and accept the reality that it is now, but we can change that, then we can create the world. This is what the processor has to go through in order to get the world the way it should be. So it's difficult, it's challenging times, but whether we remember or not, Joel, I think we all signed up for this thing called life. Even up for or didn't quite know the details, but I'd say at some level we did agree to come here, so let's do what we're meant to do while we're here.
Yes, amen. Big love, brother. Thank you so much for jumping in and instilling your wisdom in the space. And I'll keep rooting for you, bro. You got me in your corner. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate
real quick,
work.
I just want to drop in on this before we wrap. I know you got to bounce. Bitcoin 2.0. What's this?
Yeah, so something, it's been 4 years in the development. I'm a significant investor in it. I'm an advisor to them. There's some things people are going to find out about Bitcoin in the future that probably they won't like. I was a big backer of it early, and I'm still not saying that it won't. Bitcoin will probably go to 500,000. That's my price prediction. I did a commentary on that a week or two ago. So it has an enormous future. But, we did Bitcoin 2.0 is more to help, because Bitcoin 1 was really about obviously a payment system, but taking away the control of the money issuing from the federal bankers, the central control bankers, and putting it back in the hands of the people, so to speak, which I was being a libertarian, fully supportive of that. Bitcoin 2.0 is really trying to go, well, we're going to change the world as well. We need to not only change the financial system, we need to change mainstream media. We need to disrupt that and support independent media. So it's a big support of independent media. That's why I support it. And it's just a faster payment system. But if we can change, break through the stranglehold of mainstream media feeding lies and conspiracies to the world and allow the truth to come out, and that's what we do, Australian National Review and other independent news sites, then we can take control of the world back and put it in the hands of the good people, put it back in the institutions that are meant to be transparent and represent the people, not represent Bill Gates and his puppet masters. So that's why I'm a big backer of that. So they can find out more about that at anrnews.com.
Awesome, man. I love that. So essentially you're investing in funding for other real truth independent based content to get out there. And if it has enough people collectively funding it, it could be just as big or even bigger than mainstream media to be able to drown out the noise and bring truth. I love that, man. I love it so much. That's awesome, bro. That's a great mission. All right. Thanks a million, bro. Is there anywhere that they can go to as well? I know you said Australian National Review, but is there any other thing?
ANRnews.com is the short link for that. McIntyre Jamie on Instagram, but I'll probably be deleted off Instagram pretty soon. I'm banned off Facebook, Yeah, so I just want to let people know that we have given warnings. There's a lot of content there, but remember, things could go stealth and quiet in the near future. The world is heading in a pretty precarious situation. So just get prepared. You're better off knowing the truth, I believe. Be prepared and do what you can control and let go of what you can't control. That's all we can ever do throughout our whole life anyhow. But now a lot of us been trained for this situation. We're now going to have to put our big boys pants on or big girl pants on and face the challenges. And on the other side of this, I think there's going to be a beautiful world we can create.
Good, man. Good to know I'm not the only one doing it. We all get to do it. Awesome. I want to leave you with this last question here. I know you saw Matthew McConaughey drop this one. Thanks for sharing that, bro. The question is, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like?
Well, hopefully it's not going to come too soon because there's a lot of work to do. But I would say, of course, I want to thank my family and friends for the journey the people that I've crossed paths with and shared this journey with. We all know that this time is coming for all of us. The time is going to run out. And we have to move on to our next journey. We have to leave some people behind, but I know that we would get to see these people again. And why we're here, time is our only real asset, and don't waste that time. And be courageous, and realize that we're all going to die. So live until that time comes.